everybody. Welcome. Thanks so much for watching our information session on the Science and Technology Research Seed Grant, which we call the STaRS grant. My name is Devin Monette. I'm joined by my colleague, Amy Moreland, and we both work as a part of NSF STRIVE, the admin team here at Landmark College. NSF STRIVE stands for the U.S. National Science Foundation Science and Technology Research Initiative for the Vermont Economy. Our award number is 2438168. This initiative is a collaboration between Landmark College, Bennington College, the Community College of Vermont, and the Brattleboro Development Credit Corporation. STRIVE aims to support faculty, staff, and community leaders in increasing their capacity to share meaningful STEM experiences with their students. And research is really the epitome of a real-world learning experience. So we're here today to support access to the STaRS grant, which provides up to $15,000 to awardees as seed funding for research with a high potential for scalability and a connection to issues tied to Vermont STEM needs. Just as a reminder, our deadlines are October 15th and April 15th. But the STaRS grant is really just one piece of the puzzle. If we look at the broader mission of STRIVE, we aim to increase interconnectivity between STEM educators and research, K through 12, and with industry, all of which is aiming at increasing workforce development for Vermonters. Historically, much of the funding to support research has gone to R1 institutions, and that has consolidated a lot of learning opportunities around these larger institutions. And STRIVE aims to help disperse STEM opportunities by providing funding and connecting collaborators who can be mutually supportive in rural areas so that we all have access to high level learning, and thus a pipeline to rewarding sustainable careers. So all that to say, STaRS is looking for strong proposals designed with students in mind and an emphasis on increasing the overall capacity in areas of the state in alignment with Vermont economic areas of promise. So let's get into our agenda for today and talk about STaRS. So we want to just hit on our program objectives real quick, just so everybody can better understand how STaRS fits into the STRIVE mission, and using that to inform your application. From there, we'll look at the application guidelines and outline the required components. And then we'll also include a budget overview. We have some basics, but then also Amy's going to hit us with some tips just to make your budget as strong as possible in the review team's eyes. At that point, I'll pass it over to Amy, and she'll talk about the review process as well as our post-award expectations. Okay, program objectives. So STaRS is a seed grant, as I mentioned, with the intention of promoting the National Science Foundation's core values. These include promoting skill building opportunities in alignment with Vermont's educational needs, broadening research participation across Vermont, especially within historically underfunded institutions, and increasing the capacity for long-term researcher collaborations throughout the state. So this is essentially what we refer to when we talk about a research ecosystem, and STaRS is aimed at increasing the number of new nodes in this system and just making more research points throughout Vermont. We want to note here that a strong project proposal will clearly articulate how the project will enhance your ability to secure future external research funding from federal agencies or from other major funders. Okay, now on to STEM. So STRIVE's mission is closely linked to STEM disciplines, but we want to just clarify what we mean when we say this all-encompassing term. For the purpose of conciseness, we use STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, but it really goes beyond that. Any STEM adjacent fields such as economics, the science of learning, psychology, and many more are all relevant to our work and important components of STEM, and they will receive equal consideration with the review team. So another note here for a strong proposal. In writing a proposal, consider how it is relevant to the current STEM debates in Vermont, current hot topic issues for educators around STEM and the workforce needs. Okay, when we look at the application itself, we want to emphasize that it's open to all researchers, faculty, or staff from any Vermont college or university. But we also expanded to include educational organizations that are doing research grounded in Vermont. Is open to them, as well as any businesses looking to fund early stage proof of concept research. For any award, the maximum is $15,000 with 2 to 3 awards for our October deadline. So that will bring us to the end of our fiscal year, and then we will have more funding to work with for our April deadline. So just to reiterate that, right, going forward, we'll have deadlines on October 15th and then again in April 15th. For your proposal, please send a PDF or a Word document, no longer than 3 pages. This doesn't include the budget or the bibliography. Please send those to admin@strivevt.org. You can also direct any questions or inquiries to this email address. We're happy to support you in your application process. For the application itself, please include a project cover sheet with a clear abstract, and then your project goals and a summary as outlined here. We really want to emphasize in your research questions or objectives, right? There's a strong emphasis on how this work addresses Vermont-based STEM gaps and skills, and providing students with skill opportunities while strengthening the research capacity of your institution or organization. Those are tips that the review team really likes to see. So just thinking about that in your considerations. From there, project description, just giving context for why this research question is relevant in the literature, and your planned activities and methodologies. Continued in that is the timeline. Again, a reminder from your start date, 12 months is the timeline that we're working with. After the deadline closes, we expect to get decisions out to people within 1 month. So we can anticipate for this deadline a November 15th start time and the 12-month cycle following that. Lastly, providing some justification for your STaRS funding. How will this funding benefit the greater growth of STEM education in Vermont? How is this project situated within the framework of theory? And lastly, why is seed funding necessary? And that includes a well thought out anticipated submission target outside of or beyond this proposal. So where we want to see evidence of thinking through what the next steps are and bringing this project to a larger funder and how it will scale up for that timeline. Okay, on to the budget. So in our application, we have included a sample budget and a budget template. We expect applicants to use the template just so that everything is easy for the review team to sift through. Those can be found at strivet.org. And in looking at those budgets, we really want to emphasize that it's important to research the actual costs. Rounded numbers or estimates are frowned upon and will negatively impact the scoring from the review team. So really finding the specific items and noting the price shows a well thought out budget and is really what the review team is looking for. That being said, right, equipment costs can't exceed $5,000, and the types of work that is allowable are field or archival research, data collection, travel research, laboratory equipment and supplies, workforce development activities, and within STEM courses, and student research internships. I think that covers it. Amy, do you want to take over from here?
Sure, you can go to the next slide. So just a few tips to zoom in a little bit on the budget as you're thinking about it. So you've created this really excellent project proposal, and we want to make sure the review team sees that you have aligned your really thought out project narrative with your budget. Your budget has aligned to really support your project. So we want this to be a thoughtful complementary piece to your whole design. So as Devin said, really think beyond the round numbers, spend some time to research what you need and provide those actual costs. So for example, you might see in the sample budget, the student research intern. This is an estimate personnel cost of student interns for 5 hours a week for 12 weeks at the Vermont minimum wage. So doing that math, we get our nice number there of expected cost to hire those student intern. So just really specific in that kind of way. So that tip there, just think about, is this per hour? Could this be a stipend? You can think about that as you align your budget to your project narrative. As we go down to the direct expenses, think about if you have some travel cost in there, think big. Work with your institution's research admin or other support to do these travel estimators. Oftentimes your institution knows kind of some basic estimations for what travel costs across a 3-day conference. Do you fly to it? Do you drive to it? What kind of mileage or airfare hotel estimates and reimbursements would we be looking at? So you would think about getting those totals in there with a nice description. You might know your journal publication, or maybe you have a couple in mind. Get a sense of what that publication might cost if they accept your paper. What would those publication fees be? There might even be open access costs you might want to consider if that's something you want your project to sit within. So just be really detailed. This gives reviewers overall a sense that you have so thoughtfully designed your project that your project can only best be supported by a really thought out budget as well. This is a pretty simple tool, kind of divided by personnel and direct expenses. This whole STaRS initiative gives you an up to $15,000 project, but you're building a project and you're building a budget that best reflects that project. So just kind of looking at those tips is a really great way to have a solid budget to stand on as well. Next slide. let's talk a little bit about once your proposal goes to our review team. The review team is going to be using a scaled rubric, and overall, we're looking for alignment to complete and complete, compelling to incomplete or non-responsive, and all the approaches outlined in the proposal main sections. So reviewers will be considering, does the proposal explicitly, if you can, address STRIVE priorities, the student opportunities engagement, building the Vermont research infrastructure, et cetera. So the more explicit you can be to draw attention to your amazing project and how it can support this work, the better. And then lastly, is there a strong potential in scaling your project into external funding submissions after you complete it? And that will also be a good case for reviewers to see, this seed grant is a true seed grant. We can take this further and help support a bigger project for external funders later. So all of the proposals are reviewed by a panel of faculty and staff and other science and technology stakeholders from within our big STRIVE ecosystem. And in future cycles, there will be opportunities for faculty and staff to be eligible to join the review team as well and learn a little bit about what it looks like to actually review these amazing projects. The review team will provide a synopsis of constructive feedback to all the applicants, and revisions to the submissions are welcome. So if you don't get funding at the cycle, as Devin said earlier, there is October submissions and April submissions for the next few years. So we do welcome revised submissions, especially if you can utilize the feedback that was offered. And all decisions and communications will go out to the applicants within 4 weeks of each of the deadlines. So expect for the October 15th submission around a mid-November information, and mid-May for the April 15th submission. So post-award. So all STRIVE STaRS awardees will be contacted within 1 month of the submission, and all the review back will have been shared and the recommendations for funding. So we will congratulate you on your award, and we'll then schedule a 30-minute post-award meeting with all awardees to go over the finer points of this awards packet, which includes the awards letter and the finalized budget, any agreements, terms, the research compliance expectations, all funding details for invoicing and reimbursements for expenditures. And lastly, we even include the final reporting requirements, which there's a template in there that I'll go over in just a second. And just note that at around the midway point of your project, we'll be scheduling here in the STRIVE admin offices another brief spin down check-in and project status meeting with all awardees. See how things are going, if you have any questions or concerns at that point of your project. So for the final report, we wanted to get it in front of all of our awardees right at the beginning. So you'll find that template in your awards packet. It will include project outcomes, your final financial report, indicate the status and plans for your external funding submissions, et cetera. And so you'll find all of that info in there. And sort of just like the project proposal initially, you're going to email your final report document to admin@strivevt.org, due within 2 months of the project completion.
So that concludes our info session. Thanks everybody for tuning in and learning more about STaRS and STRIVE. There's an FAQ posted below this that has common asked questions for your reference. But we're also always here if you want to reach out. Happy to field any questions or just as an acting resource for your application in process. If you want to bounce ideas off us or just come kind of talk through at more length, happy to support that. And then lastly, just a plug, if you haven't signed up yet for our mailing list, You can visit striveet.org to do that. That's the best way to stay in tune with STARS funding, but also we put additional funding outside of STRIVE in there, as well as workshops and professional development to support growing out the STEM ecosystem. So thanks so much for tuning in, and we look forward to seeing your STARS application. Bye.
Thank you.